Okay, so this class we were supposed to teach it in like next week, or not next week, on next Sunday. 2 weeks from now. But we decided yesterday, Mr. Rahuma, since I'm at home and I cannot do the labs with you, I will start with the theory part. And then once we are there, at least we can catch up with them. And so we are not so much behind, because as I said yesterday, they are ahead of us with about like 2 classes, 2 labs technically. Good. So today we're going to talk about the principles of cloud computing. It's something similar to some of the stuff that we spoke about earlier last week, but some of the stuff are new. So we're going to talk about the introduction part. We're going to talk about the 2 ways of classifying the cloud, either by service model or by deployment model. And we'll talk about some of the layers and the infrastructure of the cloud, or how the cloud thing. Again, before I go into the headache, I want to be clear about the cloud, because even myself, when about 4 years ago, when people start talking about the cloud, I was super confused about what the hell do they mean by the cloud. Good. And what the hell is the cloud? And honestly, I wasn't that interested at that time to go research it, but I was a little bit confused about, like, what do they mean by cloud? How is it cloud computing, cloud serving, cloud, blah, blah, blah. The principle is very, very, very simple. Good. All what does it mean? All what does the cloud mean is, I, Hassan, as a service provider, I will have a server, good, somewhere, and that server, I will give you remote access to that server. So you can remote to my server. Good. In order for you to remote to my server, you do not need to have a high specification computer. You can use an iPad. Good. Something with a very low memory, something with a very low processor power. Good. All what you do is you access my server remotely. Okay, so you need a high-speed internet so you can see the screen without acting up or cramping, but you can access my server. Now, on my server, I can give you a Windows server, I can give you Exchange server, I can give you Windows 10 virtual machine, I can give you access to Microsoft Word. Good. The idea behind it is you will be working on my server. So if you are running, let's say, a 3D AutoCAD rendering system, and you are designing one of those massive football soccer field player that the government are doing, and you are the civil engineer who is designing that, and you need a 3D model for that. In order for you to do the 3D model, you need at least a computer that have maybe 1 or 2 processor with a very high speed processor and a very good RAM, maybe 32 gig or 64 gig RAM. You don't have that at home, but I have it on my server. And since you don't need it for a very long time, you need it just for a couple of days to run the program, I will rent it to you for a couple of days. So I will give you a username and password. You can remote to my server. You can have your application there. You can do whatever work you want to do on the application, and then you can run it, and it will module and will generate the video or something. Then thank you, Hassan, and thank you very much, Mr. Customer. Here, charge me 150 something dollar, real, whatever, and you go back. So this is the cloud. One of the most famous things that you guys do in the cloud, and you don't know it's a cloud, and honestly, we never call it a cloud, is the Gmail. When you access your email, this is a kind of a cloud service. Google have their cloud mail client on the internet. Instead of you installing the application and instead of you installing the server on your side, they have it on their infrastructure. They give you a username and a password to access their infrastructure. Google also have another options, Google application. Did you know that Google have a full Microsoft Office application? Good. I don't know what they call it, but let's call it Sheet Google. Okay, so Google Sheet is the version of Excel that Google have. You can go here, you will have everything you need to have from Microsoft Excel. Good. You have it for free on Google. So you can now access Google website for free, and you can create Excel sheets, save them, update them, modify them, whatever you want to do. And what is going on there? You are working on their server. Good. Now, up to like 2014, we used to call it remote access. After 2014, somebody called it the cloud, and everybody now call it the cloud. Technically, it's a remote access feature. I am remoting access to Google server. Google allow me to run their Google spreadsheet, and I can run it there. Google allow me to run their word processor. Google allow me to run their slide thing. I can access those guys over the internet, and we will call that a cloud. Same thing, you guys access D2L, you guys access all these kind of stuff. Good. So cloud computing, simply, cloud computing is the delivery of the computing services, including server, storage, database, network, software, all these kind of stuff over the internet. They call it a cloud, but over the internet remotely. The offer a faster innovation, it gives you a faster innovation, it gives you a faster flexibility resources, and it's economic of scale. For example, if you look at a university like Qatar University, they have a ton of people who do research. Okay, those people need to have access to high-speed computers to do their research. I know my neighbor, my old neighbor in Qatar University, the guy who used to live the villa next to me, he is a physician guy. He studied physics and teach physics. So sometimes during the year, he do his calculation, he do his study, he collect data for almost 6 months, and then he will need to run it through a specific application to find the blah, 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 something. And he need a very, very fast computer. If you run his laptop, it will take him 3 months to finish calculating. So he need a very, very strong desktop. He had a budget, he won't put it out for like 50,000 riyal. And he used it for 5 days and he left it because he doesn't need to use it anymore. Imagine his personal computer will work for like 3 months. That fast machine worked for 3 days. And then he left it on his desk for another 3-4 months until he connect more data, then he run it again. So these resources are there wasted because he doesn't know what to do with it when he doesn't need it. And this is where the things happen. When we have the cloud, it gives us the flexibility resources. If we have that server in our data center, then we can have like a calendar, and he will book it up from June 1st to June 10th. And then Sarah can book it from June 11 to June 20. And Ahmed can book it for 2 days. And then that machine is running all the year around, paying for it once, run all the year around, instead of paying for it 10, 15, 20 times that everybody's having. It's a cloud computing has become a buzz in the last few years. Everybody is talking about it. Even the Qatar government decided to have their own cloud now. Before, Qatar government has a rule says nothing goes on the cloud because the cloud was outside Qatar. What do you mean, Hassan, by the cloud was outside Qatar? Meaning Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Cloud were hosted in Dubai. Good. And for me to use it in Qatar University or use it in the College of North Atlantic to store your data, that means your data is stored in Dubai. And for a government, this will be considered a security threat. Of course, your data is not that security threat, but if you're talking about the Ministry of Education or the Ministry of Finance or the Ministry of Defense, the data is confidential. It shouldn't be stored in another country. So the government here says, no, we cannot use Azure. And that's why for Qatar University, for a while, we couldn't use it. Then the government, Microsoft realized that we have a ton of work in Qatar. Why don't we build our data center in Qatar? So they build a data center in Qatar now, signing with the government, agreeing with the government. And now the government, all government organizations can store cloud stuff in Qatar. Okay, so it's coming up. It's very initiative. Google is doing it. Microsoft is doing it. Amazon is doing it. All those guys are doing it. So technically, before the cloud, we used to have the servers in our building. Good. Now we have the server. We rent a server from Microsoft or from Amazon or from wherever. So before the cloud, we used to have all these servers hosted in our buildings with our rooms, with our stuff. With the cloud now, we can rent these in another data center. There is a lot of argument between the people whether owning it on premises is cheaper than clouding or clouding is cheaper than owning. There's a lot of argument about this. I can see a valid point for both of them, and we will talk about that later. Okay. So cloud give us a lot of advantages. It's give us becoming cheaper. Applications are becoming cheaper. Organization doesn't need to buy multiple applications at the same time. We'll talk about that later. It's reduce the usage of the operating system licensing. It's help people work from anywhere. So anywhere you go, you can have a full access to your software and data and application. Before you work as a cloud technician, you have to have the technology skills of networking, computing, operating system, servers, what do you call it, Active Directory. All this stuff is required. Okay. Again, advantage of the cloud, technically, it's less cost than running your data center. And again, as I said, there is an argument about this. There is an argument about this stuff. Is it really, really cheaper or not? That's why many companies now, they do mixed kind of cloud. They keep some stuff on premise, like physical machine, and they keep some stuff on the cloud. Its storage capacity is flexible. So that's one of the amazing feature. For example, if you are getting a machine from Azure, you can call Azure website when you have your Microsoft Azure account. You can go to your Azure account and you can say, I want my machine to have an i3 processor. And I want it to have 4 gig of RAM. And they will tell you it will cost you X amount of money per hour for renting that machine. And then you can work on the machine. And then you need it to have high processor. You can just one click there, you upgrade your processor from i5 to i7 with 4 processor. You have 4 i7 processor on your PC. And you upgrade your RAM from 4 gig to 64 gig. You click save and he will tell you this is will cost you from now on X, of course, higher price per minute. Sorry, guys. Will cost you higher price per minute or per hour, whatever. And then you don't want that anymore, you can go back. And for Microsoft point of view, it's valid because they have the resources. You use it, you pay them more. You don't use it, you pay them less. And they can share the resources between people. It's lower cost for infrastructure because we no longer need servers. We no longer need data center. We don't need the physical space of the data center for this kind of stuff. It's increase your computer power. As we said again, it will give you the ability to change your power. You don't have to have that power all the time in your place. If you have something big, if you have something massive happening in campus, you can easily upgrade your everything to higher speed, and then you can easily go back to lower speed. Reduce the software cost, of course, because let's look at it from another point of view. You guys as a student, let's say our course, we have about 100 students, good? But you guys as 100 students, you don't work at the same time. Your class is different time from the other class, from the other class, from the other class. So if I am using a VMware Station Professional, the license is about $100. With the traditional way, I have to buy you 100 license. Good. And each one of you will get that license installed in his computer, even though I know you guys don't use it all the time. You use it only when you are in class with me. So with the cloud, I can buy only 25 license or only 20 license. Good. And those 20 license, I will arrange the class schedule around those 20 license. So Mr. Rahoma will take Sunday from 8 to 12. And then I will take Monday from 8 to 12. And then Mr. X will take Monday from 12 to 3. And then somebody else will take from 2 to 4 or something like this. And then the 20 licenses are used by 5 groups or 6 group or 7 group if we do the schedule right. Finally, updating is much, much easier because imagine me have to update the software that you guys are using. That means I have to reinstall the new version on 100 machine. While if I'm doing this on the cloud, I only have to install it on a 20 machine. And remember, those 20 machines are on my server. I can access them remotely. It will be much, much easier. So here is some of the benefit of the cloud and the explanation of those benefits. So these are the stuff that you guys have to memorize or remember about the benefit. The disadvantages of the cloud is your internet speed. If you guys are working from home with a crappy internet, you will not be able to watch my presentation right. And this is just Zoom. Doing the cloud usually requires a little bit higher internet than Zoom. Nowadays, everybody having high internet, we have no problem. A few years ago, it was a problem. I remember in 2015, 2016, when the cloud came in, most of the internet home in Qatar were about 10 Mbps. Most of us had only 10 Mbps at home. From Ooredoo, the rich people were having 20 Mbps. So that's why it was a problem, because you want access to your computer to work, you'll find that connection glitchy and it's slowing down on something like this. Now, minimum you can get 50 Mbps, which is much higher, and now it's 100 and 120 even, and you can get 500. You have to have constant internet connection. If your internet is coming and going, you will lose that. There is some security problem with the cloud because, again, when I have a security confidential data at the College of North Atlantic, I can say only people inside this building can access this network. I can access, let's say, PeopleSoft. So that way I can prevent hacker from outside to access it. Now I have to open it so people can work from their home using the cloud. So I have to be worried about the security features. Cloud model, the way they classify cloud or the way they model cloud, there is two ways. There is a way about how do we deploy cloud when we talk about deployment or management or the settings of the cloud. And then there is about how the cloud, what the cloud offers, the service that the cloud offers. So there is two ways or two types to model the cloud. At the end, it's the same cloud, but you can say, for example, in the cars, you can classify the cars by their engine power feature. So you have like a low speed car, medium speed car, high speed car, or you can just modify the car or classify the car based on their size. You have sedan, you have 4x4, and you have van. It's still the same cars, but the way you arrange them is different. So the Ferrari will go with the Lancer if you are looking at the sedan kind. You said Ferrari and Lancer are a sedan car. They are small size cars. Good. But if you are modifying them in speed, Ferrari will be in different range of the Lancer. So we'll talk about the service model first, and then we will talk about the deployment model. Okay. You have to keep in mind there is something else happening here. There is 4 layers for any cloud. The 4 layers are simple layers. They are imaginary layers, but you have to think about it. There is the front end layer. This is the layer that will allow the user to interact with the cloud. So if you are interacting with the cloud, good, the user interacting with the cloud, this is, we call it the front end layer. So for example, as we were saying a few minutes ago, for Google, you are interacting with the Google cloud through a website. Good. So we are using that as a website to access the Google cloud, to access the Google application. Sometimes you will access your cloud using a remote connection. Good, a remote desktop. So this is a different way for me to access the cloud connection. There's other ways of connecting. So this is what we call it the first layer, which is the front end layer. It's the part of the cloud which the user interact with. For example, you will access your Gmail using a website, you will access something with a different option. The back end, this is comprised the hardware and the software of the cloud, the database, the software, and the details of the cloud. Okay, so this is the 2 layers, front end, back end. So now we're going to talk about the service model. Good. Service model cloud. So in this classification, we classify the cloud based on their services. What are they offering? There is 3 major services and there is 2 not very popular, but we'll talk about the 3 majors. We have software as service, we have platform as service, we have infrastructure as service. They call them SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, whatever. Good. So, and then we will have identity as service, network as service. We'll talk about them later on. SaaS, PaaS, IaaS. So let's talk about the software as services first. So by software as services, what do we mean by this? Meaning the cloud in this case are offering the customer access to specific softwares. Good. It only giving me access to that specific software. It doesn't give me access to an operating system. It doesn't give me access to a server or anything else. It's giving me a software, what we call it on-demand software or pay-as-you-go software. Good. It will give me access to that software when I need it. So this is exactly what Google is doing in this example that I was doing here. So the Excel sheet application from Google, it's SaaS cloud service, software based. I will go to the Google website. I can access the software. I will work on it. Google give it for me for free. Good. But if I am assuming it will be for money, Google then will charge me per minute or per hour or as a subscription. You can use it unlimitedly for 1 month for 150 riyal, for example, or whatever you are going to use that. Okay, 1 second, sorry. Good. So this is what we say. The SaaS software. In SaaS, the software and the application associated are centrally located in the cloud server. So the softwares are located in the cloud server, and user can access them via thin client or via their application. So you can access those through your application. Many companies are doing this now, even AutoCAD, even Photoshop now. Instead of you buy yourself a Photoshop license for like $300 or $400 per year, you can actually now access that through online. You can go to Adobe website, click on the Adobe website, and you can choose a subscription where you can use it per minute or use it rented per minute or rented per hour. Okay, good. So for example, you have the HR solutions like PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft is one of the examples of using SaaS cloud. We can access the registration, adding, removing, dropping, vacation request, salary increase, performance review. All these stuff are done online. You can choose a pre-existing billing and invoicement system, so you can either be charged per minute or you can be charged per user, per something like this for using those services and exception. Okay, now the advantages of the SaaS services: it's easy to buy. Good. The cost basically on monthly or yearly fee, allowing the organization to have access. Minimize your hardware requirement. So in that case, if I have a few guys in the organization that require heavy application, I don't need to buy very high-end laptops for them. Good. I can have everybody with the standard laptop with the 8 gig of RAM, let's say, or 16 gig of RAM even, standard laptop for everybody. And then when they want to use a specific application that require 32 gig of RAM or require something higher, I can just let him go to the SaaS cloud service and access that application online. Good. It's better for special software, especially the high-end expensive software. As I told you, at Qatar University, we have a software called MATLAB. It's very, 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 very expensive. And everybody in the engineering college is using it. And half of the guys in the business college are using it. And some student in the class college are using it, the College of Science. We did the math. If we want to install it in the labs, we need about 1,000 licenses. 1,000 licenses times about $200 will be $200,000 or even more. It's a ton of money to use that. Then we put it on our SaaS cloud service. We bought 200 licenses. We put it on our cloud service, and we spoke to the scheduling team. Says, listen, you have to figure it out with the guys. Good. We don't care where the students are sitting. All what we care is you cannot have more than 200 students scheduled on the same time. Good. Even for the exams, we told them you cannot have more than 200 scheduled for the exam. There was some complaint from the teacher, says, no, we have 500 students, we need to do the exam at the same time. We told them, great. In that case, instead of it costing you $20,000, it will cost you $100,000 per month. And the guys, oh, no, we can sort it out. We can sort it out. Good. Again, it's low maintenance. Imagine the headache for me as Hassan that I used to suffer at Qatar University as the help desk support manager, when every year we got a new version of that application. We have another application called SPSS. It's a disaster. So every year we install that SPSS on about like 2,000 computers in the lab, and every year they come with a new version. Then I have to run a script or go manually uninstall it from those 2,000 computers and reinstall it again on the 2,000 computers. Imagine how much trouble that was for me. Now with the cloud, I don't care. I just go to my cloud server. I delete that version 20, put version 21 on the cloud server, and I'm done. I do it once. That's it. It's working for everybody. Good. The disadvantages, sorry, my mistake. This should be the disadvantages, is the latency factor. If your internet is bad, you will have latency factor. It will be some delay in the application. You need internet connection. Okay, switching between SaaS vendor in the case of any changes are very difficult. So if you are with VMware and you want to go to IBM, changing from one vendor to one vendor, it will cost you a ton of headache, ton of time. So you better do the study very, very, very well before you make up your decision about which vendor will provide me with that service. VMware, Oracle, Microsoft, IBM, before you go. Okay. So some of the most famous SaaS options are Microsoft Office 365. Good. GoToMeetings, Oracle system. Okay. All these guys are offered a sample of those features. Now we are going to talk about platform as service. So in the platform as service, we do not only offer a specific application, we offer like a full platform. So for example, platform for programming developer and bring benefits SaaS using the software development. So in this case, we give them a computer platform. So that means I don't give the student access to PowerPoint. I will give access for the student to a whole Windows machine. Good. So when he remote to that Windows machine using Azure, good. When he opened that Azure machine, he will have a Windows machine. He will have his Windows, his installation, his files. He will get everything he needs on that machine. It's very similar to the situation when I'm using TeamViewer. We used TeamViewer before. When I TeamViewer to your computer, good, I'm accessing your computer at home. My computer might be very low on RAM and very low on processor, but your computer is very high end, I can use it. So platform means I'm getting a full computer. I can install my application. Platform give me extra feature that I don't have it on the application in the SaaS. The PaaS give me extra feature that I don't have it on the SaaS. Those extra features are, I can have, for example, as a user, I can have my own control panel. I can change my color settings. I can change my options. I can work on multiple applications at the same time, like a real environment PC. You know, some developer guys who do website programming, you have JavaScript, he will have Python, he will have HTML. He have 4 applications working together on the same PC to generate what he is doing. So in this platform option, it's more realistic. You will have those applications working on the machine as if they are on a real physical machine situation. Of course, it will generate a little bit harder difficulties because for me now, as an administrator, as Hassan administrator, even though it's not a physical machine, but still I have to treat it as a physical machine. I have to worry about their Windows update. I have to worry about their driver update. I have to worry about their settings, their configuration, their software update. So it will give a little bit extra. So you have example of that is Microsoft Azure, there's Upfog, there's OpenShift, there's VMware. All of those are companies who offer these services. Inshallah, we are working a solution now between me and Mr. Rahuma to see if we can get you access, for example, to Azure, some Azure, so you guys have some experience with that. We'll figure out a solution to give you access, so you guys will build up a VM, go remote to it, play on it a little bit, just have the experience. Okay, again, it's scalable, have the ability to be scalable, meaning I can make those machines bigger or smaller, or more machines or less machine at one click. I remember when Microsoft were pitching this to Qatar University, trying to sell them the idea. One of the amazing skills will be like me as a Hassan teacher now, I can go create a lab machine for you for this class. I can go create a template machine. I will say that template machine for the class computer clouding will have VMware, Hyper-V, Word, PowerPoint, and X application. And then I create that template. And then I will say I have these 15 students. Good. Give each one of them machine. One click, I have 15 machine created. Good. And then you guys can access it. At any minute, Mr. Lee will call me and says, Hassan, we have 3 extra students. I'm like, okay. I'll go to the website, add the 3 student name, click on them, add. Boom, they get access. We figure out while we are working in the middle of the lab that 16 gig is RAM is low to you guys. It's not enough. You guys are suffering. It's taking you a lot of time. One click, I can upgrade you guys all to 32 gig of RAM. Okay, so this is how the scalability have it. Again, low cost compared to physical machine, and it gives facility to provide online communication, help development, and this kind of stuff. The disadvantages for that, again, it's vendor migration. If you go with Microsoft and then you decided to move to IBM, it's a huge headache.
you have a big concern about data privacy because you as a student or me as an employee, I'm using a computer that is on the cloud. So everything I'm doing on that PC is on the cloud. Good. So if the cloud is not in a secure place or not ruled by a proper governance or proper rule from the government, it's high risk. Good. It has a mix up complexity between the computers in here and out here. Sometimes there's a confusion in that. You have to keep an idea about that the data privacy is like two-sided sword, because one point now, as Hassan, as an employee at CNAQ, I have ton of CNAQ data on my laptop. I'm taking my laptop with me home. I take it with me when I travel. So if my laptop gets stolen when I am in Turkey, good, all the data on the laptop are in dangerous of being exposed. While if I'm using the cloud, and let's say a secure cloud, my data is saved on the cloud. So if my laptop got stolen, my personal laptop have nothing, because I only access the cloud through that. So it has nothing in there. Okay, so some of those services are Google Apps, Windows Azure, OpenShift, Cloud Foundry by VMware. So all those companies offer these kind of service. Anybody have a question about the software and the platform? Good. Now we're going to talk about the infrastructure as service. Now with infrastructure as service, this is where we go to the next level. Up to those two levels, where is my Active Directory? Where is my Exchange server? They are still on premises. Like in CNAQ, my Active Directory, my Exchange server are still in CNAQ. Good. But I use them to authenticate against D2L. So D2L is a cloud service that allow me to access that on cloud. But the way they have my username and my password, it's saved still in my CNAQ infrastructure. Now, cloud can offer you not only these two, it can offer you infrastructure. So with that infrastructure as IaaS, you can have all your servers on the cloud. So you no longer have data center. So I can call Microsoft now and I tell them, listen, I'm setting up a new university here in Qatar. So I will need an Active Directory server with this specification that can fit this work. I will need an Exchange server with 5,000 mailbox. I will need what do you call it, storage server with the 500 with 10 tera or 20 tera hard drive. I need Linux server. I need. So all my physical infrastructure will be in the cloud. You can have all your data on the cloud, or your infrastructure on the cloud, or you can have part of it on the cloud. Good. So not only applications or desktops, now you have your servers also saved on the cloud. It's nothing more than, let's call it, outsourcing your server. Good. You know how you can outsource your server to somebody else? That's exactly what we are doing. We are outsourcing our server to Microsoft. So Microsoft have the hardware. She worry about the hardware. She clean it, she upgrade it, she delete it, she fix it, she cool it. I don't know what Microsoft do. All what I care about is my server is up and running. Good. And all my network, all my administrator team have to do is do their server administration part, not server maintenance part. They will control the user account, the mailboxes, but they don't have to worry about where is the hard drive, where is what's happening. Is this hard drive failing? Is this rack heating? They don't have to worry about that. Okay, so the IaaS provides something like load balancer. It will give you the ability to have multiple servers doing the same job, so you have the load balancer. Disk shortages via virtual machine. You have no problem with disk shortages, because at any minute you can just ask Microsoft to give you more space. Good. And Microsoft will be happy to do that, because they rent you this space and they get money for it. They will give you software packages included. They will give you IP addresses. They will give you your VLAN. They will do all the setup for you. Good. Again, advantages, same thing. Dynamic, easy to access, flexible to grow and reduce, full control of the resources. You have the full control of your stuff. Disadvantages, again, it's all on the internet. It's a must. It depends on the virtualization service, the service restriction, privacy and customization. You will have some restriction of the privacy and the customization stuff. Any question about the infrastructure as service? Good. So all those guys are offering the same options. Now, the last two models that we don't use a lot, DAS, IDaaS, or Identity as Service. Identity as Service is the option that you get just for authentication. Good. So it's the authentication service. Do you know how you guys can use your Google account to log in to booking.com? You know how when I go to booking.com, I can create my own account with booking.com, or I can use my my Gmail account to sign in. So when I go here to sign in, I can use my Gmail account to sign in, or I can use my Facebook account to sign in, or I can use my Apple ID to sign in. So Gmail will authenticate me to booking.com. Facebook will authenticate me to booking.com. So this is the service that we call identity as a service. Okay, so you will create your own account, and then based on that account, you can access different services or different features as authentication. Right now, you guys authenticate yourself when you want to use the college university resources. You authenticate yourself on PeopleSoft, on D2L, using our own server, our own Active Directory here, and using your CNA account. When we have something like this, you will have your account on that identity service, whatever, and then instead of we authenticate you, they will authenticate you. The other one is directory as service. This will include stuff like directory service, registration information, authentication services, risk management monitoring, portfolio managing, sign-on services, a kind of services that you guys use. We will not talk about it now. This is an advanced level. You might get it at the end of this class. We might not even talk about this stuff. Now, the last part, which is the network as services. Network as services allow the user to access the network infrastructure directly. This is a kind of, what do you call it? You guys call it VPN. So it's something similar to the VPN, but instead of a VPN where you actually have your infrastructure at the college, and then you have a secure connection to the college network. Now, no, you will have your entire secure network on the cloud, on Microsoft Server, or in Oracle Data Center, and you will be accessing that infrastructure from there. So this is, they call it network as service. You can get that network from there. Any question about the service model, for service model, before we go to the next one? Good. So now we're going to talk about the cloud model. I think I had a small mistake in the presentation. 1 second. I felt something wrong. Okay, as we said before, the cloud is divided into two levels, front end and back end. The front end, it was the customer see. Good. Is it a website that the customer have to use? So we have to keep the website up and running. Is it like a portal? Is it like a mobile app? Is it like, how does the customer access the remote service? And then we have the back end where it has the security, the management, the application, the server, the hardware, and all this stuff. We call them the back end. The back end is connected through the virtual network to the internet. It's have all these features. The back end is used by the service provider. So the service provider, the virtual service provider, is the one who controls the back end. If you are talking about a public cloud, this will be Google or Microsoft. If you're talking about private cloud, this will be your IT team. The front end is the one that the customer interface with. Good. The back end has two major responsibilities: providing the traffic control to control who is getting in, who's getting out, what's the security, what's the government protocol, and to employ the internet protocol that's connected to the network. So it's the one that enables these connection and these settings. Now we're going to talk about the cloud architecture layers. So cloud layers, the cloud is divided into 4 layers.
We set the front end and the back end, and then we have a cloud-based delivery module and the network. Where is it here? So layer 1 will be the user interface. Layer 2 will be the network. Layer 3 will be the cloud management. Layer 4 will be the hardware and the resources and the details. So layer 1 is the user part. Again, we just spoke about that. It's the part that allows the user to access the system, allow the user to work on the cloud. The network layer is the layer that allows the cloud to talk to the user and the user to talk to the cloud. This is where you set up your settings. How can the user reach out to my cloud services? Is he needing VPN? Is he going to access through a web secure web? Is he going to access through a mobile configuration? So this is the part of the network layer job. The cloud management layer, this is the layer where you actually manage your cloud. I create an account for Hassan. I give him access to this LAN, this VPN, this device. I don't create it for this guy. I create it for this guy. So these are what we call it, the cloud management. Who control what, who access what. And then we have the actual resources, the actual servers, the actual infrastructure, the actual stuff. Good. If you are looking, for example, at Azure settings, the Microsoft control layer 4, Microsoft run layer 4, your IT administrator run layer 3. So the account manager in the CNAQ, he run layer 3. He the one who says, okay, so those are 10 students. He will add you as a student. This is a new teacher. He will add me as a teacher. A teacher have access to these. Student have access to these. While the network layer is also controlled by Microsoft, they are the one who do the settings and the configuration. And the user layer, this is what you guys use to access the services. Okay. Again, the cloud infrastructure have 5 components. We have the applications, what applications are running. We have the platform that the applications are running on. Is it a Unix platform, Windows platform? What is the platform? We have the infrastructure, which is the servers, the cabling, the internet. We have the virtualization. How do we create these virtual machines on top of the infrastructure? And then we have the physical hardware, the physical server, the physical RAM, the physical DVDs. We will have those stuff. Okay, so this is the host platform. This is the hypervisor. This is where you do your virtualization layer. This is you have the services, and this is the user layer. The last part is about cloud structure deployment model. We have different model of deploying the cloud: private, public, community, and hybrid. Good. So public cloud is the cloud that is open for public. Good. This is similar to Gmail. Gmail is a public cloud. Gmail application or Google application, Google Excel, or Google Sheet, or Google document, or Google presentation, they are all public services. iCloud stuff, what Apple do are public services. Good. So Microsoft Azure are public cloud. So public cloud is open for public. It's a service provider that open it for public and rent it and give it to the public people. Again, it has all the feature of flexibility, reliability, low cost, but it's less secure and it's more customizable. I cannot, yeah, it's customized, but it's not like if I own Azure. Azure will tell you I have 20, 30, 60 different options for you, but that's it. I don't have more specification options. While if you are running your own cloud, you can customize it better. It's your own cloud, but this is public cloud. Good. Again, Google, VMware, Amazon, all those guys. Private cloud means it's an internal cloud. It's a cloud that is owned by my team. So for example, CNAQ will buy the servers, set them up as a cloud, set them up so you guys as a student, me as a teacher can access it from any place in the world. We can access it, but only us who are part of the CNAQ can access that cloud. Okay, so only us. I'm not sure, but if you guys know, for example, the government here have their own private cloud that are used by the HR people of the government. So it's a cloud created by the government, and only HR people for the government organization can access it to handle stuff.
There is another private cloud here in Qatar, is the private cloud that the immigration office have. You know, when you are working for a company and your manager want to give you permission to leave or change your iqama from one guy to another guy, or I don't know, extend your iqama or approve these kind of stuff, they have their own access and they have their own smart ID with the something to verification. So this kind of cloud that the Qatari government offered to the organization, it's a private cloud. It's not a public cloud that somebody in Egypt can go rent that. It doesn't work. This is a private cloud. Again, it's highly private and secure because we know exactly who is in there and what is he doing there. It's controllable. We can control every aspect in that because it's ours. The disadvantages, it's poor in scalability because, let's be honest, the government have to have the hardware. And if the government has extra requirement, they have to go buy hardware, they have to do tendering, they have to install the hardware. While if you are renting from Microsoft, you don't worry about that. That's the headache of Microsoft. You have to figure it out. You don't worry about it. It's a little bit costly, of course, because you have to buy all this infrastructure for yourself. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Okay. So the disadvantages again is the pricing and the restrictions based on the local government and organization. So this is a private cloud. The third type, what we call it hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is a mix of the public and the private cloud. So you will have some stuff public, available to public, and you will have some stuff private that's only been accessed by this specific department or this specific people. Microsoft start offering this now for the government. They says to the government, listen, we will give Office 365. This is a public service. Your people can access Office 365 as part of the public network, but we will give you this private network that nobody can access except you guys. So kind of mixing the public and the private. Again, same kind of feature of, not feature, part of the disadvantages of that is the complexity. It's very, very complex when you have to do this kind of configuration, private and public, and this is access and this is not. And you have to change your government, you have to change your organization security view to match what you are doing. It's a big work on around that. The last part is, what do they call it? Community cloud. Community cloud is a kind of a cloud that is shared by multiple people or multiple cloud resourcer and the provider. So for example, Microsoft and IBM and those guys join together to create a specific cloud. Or it's, I know one cloud feature now, it's running between the universities in the world. They can access those university. Good. So multiple universities are accessing this and they are having their cloud feature together. So the community cloud is a cloud that is coming from joining of a separate cloud together to share each other. We don't have this in Qatar in that logic yet, but if I am seeing it in Qatar, for example, I will think about that. I will think about that, for example, that Qatar University, CNAQ, Community College, Lusail University will join each other together and they will have a cloud service that all their students, all their employees will join. So this is what we call it, a cloud, a community cloud. I think Qatar Foundation somehow have it. I'm not sure if they have it this way, but if you look at Qatar Foundation, they have all these universities and colleges and small entities. They can have some kind of mixed cloud or community cloud. Okay. So last, we talk about those examples, about those features. Good. And this is how those cloud things going around. This is just examples. Anybody have any question about these?